So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our video of Mars in the 9,000 Taurus for Virgo Ascendant people, where Mars is the lord of the 8th house and the third house. Third house with the sign of Scorpio, 8th house with the sign of Aries, and sits in the 9,000 Taurus. And as always, if you do not know if you have this particular position, what sign it's in, what nakshatra it's in, along with the astrological details, check out the links here, KRSastrology.com, where you'll find my books, reports, consultations, and link to my academy, Vedic Astrology Academy, where I'm currently teaching Nandi Nadi, one of the most brilliant forms of astrology. Do you know something about Nandi Nadi that I actually finally shared with my students? Do you know Nandi Nadi? You don't even have to use zodiac signs. I mean, you all want to jump into nakshatras. Doesn't even want it. It actually doesn't even require um, zodiac signs. If you really didn't need to zodiac signs, you can still do a reading. Zodiac signs adds on to it. Nakshatra will then add on to it. So this is brilliant. But anyway, so the first thing you have to know is that Mars is now controlling the ninth house, right? Being the lord of these two houses. And Mars represents a husband in a female's chart, along with Jupiter as well. Okay. Mars represents a younger brother. Mars represents male friends. Mercury is naturally friends, but Mars is like your male companions that you will deal with. So, and then Mars also represents surgeries, cuts, burns, bruises. So, first thing we see is that Mars is in the ninth house in Taurus, which shows that due to money matters, due to financial money matters, younger brother will go far away to earn money. And their focus is not going to be anything but, hey, I need to earn money. Whether it's earning money for the family or whether it's earning money for themselves, the focus becomes search for that wealth to go far away. The other thing you will also see, father will get into fights with people in religious places. He will have verbal confrontations with somebody either at some religious place, outside of religious place, and especially such a religious place. Like, for example, in Hinduism, it could be either a Hanuman temple, it could be a Narsimha temple, it could be a temple of a very strong, fierce god. Even though Mars is not connected with Kali or Durga, but still they're fierce, goddesses and gods. So in front of them, your father at one point will get into a verbal argument with them. And especially after that, father will get some kind of a cut. Okay. And this is something, of course, you want to tell your father to avoid this. Because what is happening is it's that cut then shows that, okay, now it's a check mark for a karma for next life to deal with this person. So because of that verbal arguments, who has verbal arguments? Think about it. Mostly married couples, right? So now what can happen in one of the future lives, your father and that person may have to come as a husband and wife to resolve this particular karma and issue. Maybe in some other life they'll meet in front of a temple. Then a person's higher knowledge, higher education will be definitely based off of research. Whether Mars in Taurus can take them into higher research related to economy, economics, finance, or even engineering and technology, if let's say Rahu, Mercury are surrounding Mars. So Mars will become a catalyst of that. But also, it shows a person will suddenly get either accepted into some higher education or suddenly has to go for their higher degree. Like, for example, you find out, and I've had certain cases like this where they finally found out that their corporation is paying for MBA for a particular time. And that time was literally running out, maybe like 3 weeks to go. So they quickly applied for their approval of loans and all of those things, and they quickly during that particular phase they applied for attaining a higher education. But I guess you have to take on tests, so it took a while, but they got that thing approved right on time to attain their MBA, where the company will pay for it. And then of course, most of see life influence father's life influence will be strongly controlled by the younger brother. If younger brother said something that, dad, this is really important, dad, I think we should do this, and the father will be like, yeah, maybe we should do this, I think it'll be a great idea to do this. On the other hand, especially in a female's horoscope, we see that after marriage the girl's luck rises, and especially she will go and meet the spouse in a distant place, and but will also move away from home to live with the spouse. And one of the things we see when Mars is in the sign of Taurus, and especially if you see Ketu around Mars in a female's chart, whoever marries this female, their career skyrockets. Now think about it. Why did I say this? First of all, in Nadi, Mars is husband, ninth house is luck and fortune, Taurus is money and wealth, and Ketu represents heights. Ketu represents a flag. So what happens with a flag? From bottom rises to the top, right? That's the job of the flag. Flag's job is not to come down. Flag's job is to always be at a high spot. And because Ketu represents ladder, you will see such a person step by step start just excelling into their corporate ladder or their business. And then, of course, we don't know the position of Jupiter because that's important in this case, but father will benefit greatly through the brother in some cases, not all cases. Because, like I said, we want to see from the Jupiter where this is occurring. But father could benefit from his own younger brother financially. Then, on the other hand, always, because Mars can represent tremendous expenses that can happen, especially on behalf of pilgrimages, higher education, or the father. And father would be a type of person who wants, I wouldn't say short tempered, because Mars is quite common actually in Taurus. But father's like a bull. You know how bull is just silent, quiet. It's not roaring ever. But when it charges, it just charges. So father has this bull-like mentality. Like father will keep quiet. Things are happening. But if things are just not going according to the father plan, he will just, without saying anything, will just disturb everything and do the things that what they're supposed to do. So there is this intimidating factor. Like for example, somebody who's very silent actually has a more of independent, imitating or not imitating, intimidating factor versus somebody who's just a loudmouth, always screaming, yelling, like, oh God, this person's yelling again. Because see, Taurus is speech. Mars, first of all, has no religion, and Mars does not like to speak, it likes to take the action. So father, unless of course Mercury is in the second, then father's language could be very harsh. But just Mars by itself, father will be quiet. But when he roars, it's like, yeah, the bull is charging. Everybody watch out. And especially father would make his luck and money through property, land, and vehicles with this. Now, of course, back in the day, father could be, let's say, a civil servant. Father could be, working in construction, railway. But of course, dynamics have changed. Like literally in 5, 6 years, normal fathers will be considered fathers from the 80s and 70s. My God. Yeah, old. Old. Perfect. So that occurs. But again, many other things occur. But we have to look at other planetary placements from here. One of the most important things you will see is that brother could get into a conflict with the father because the brother will only choose the person that they're in love with. And that's where the differences of opinion can happen. And brother may leave and get married with this person.